Hello everyone, I'm going to be going over higher time frame points of interest for the MBZ model. Now, instead of looking at fair value gaps and or liquidity pools, we're actually going to take a look at using MBZs themselves as higher time frame points of interest. So let's get to it. So here we have gold on the 4-hour, right? What I like to do is, you see how these MBZs are marked by the indicator automatically. I'm going to walk through how to identify those without it, but we're going to be using those as points of interest for the lower time frame. So like the 15 minute, the 5 minute. I personally like to look at the 5 minute with the 4-hour and or the 1 hour. Okay. But to identify that, I'm just going to briefly go over this example here of what an MBZ type 4 is. When you have a price action just like this, beautiful expansion, you tend to see price leave an inefficiency or a gap, right? So here you can see the 3 touch points, or the 2 touch points, and then the middle candle, right? The body overlapping this area right here. So it's that little gray area right in the middle. That is what's known as a fair value gap. And so based off the MBZ model, type 4, what I like to look for is, what kind of fair value gap is it? It's a bearish one, right? What identifies it as a bearish one? The middle candle. So you see it's a down close candle. Cool. Bearish. So what I like to do is wait for price to push into that with an opposing candle. So what does that mean, opposing candle? Because it's a bearish fair value gap, I need a bullish candle into it. And then after that is confirmed, I then need to wait for C2, candle 2. This is C1, candle 1, opposing candle, and C2 is what confirms the model and confirms that this truly was C1. Because what needs to happen is, based off that opposing candle, I need to see a closure past 50% of that body. Okay? So if we take a look here, in this example, price closed right at the cusp of 50%. So that is technically valid at or past 50%. So if we zoom in, you can see it close a little bit past 50%. So this is what's known as a type 4 MBZ. Type 4 meaning it's a continuation opportunity, okay? C1, C2, that's pretty much it. That's all you need. Now, with that being said, we now have our point of interest for the lower time frame. So you can see how gold has already taken out its swing low, and it could not push past this MBZ right here. Okay, so how do we mark this? Well, based off the indicator, what it does, you'll see it marks it based off the closure of C2 to the high of C1 or C2. So whichever one, in this case, because it's a bearish MBZ, whichever one has the highest point, it'll mark it there, okay? And it'll mark it from the close. So you can see that's our zone and point of interest to look for shorts on the lower time frame for an entry and take profit. And so now all we have to do is go down to the 15 minute or the 5 and look for an opportunity within that. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly draw this so we can just observe mentally how this looks on that lower time frame. And so if we go to the 5 minute here, this MBZ got formed, and you see price revisit that later on. So now it's having a beautiful run to that sell side. Okay, so now we have not only a point of interest on the higher time frame, it's a really strong point of interest. Why? Because it's in the direction of that desired target. It's not just a higher or low on the higher time frame. It's not just an ordinary fair value gap. It's already confirmed on the 4-hour. that it wants to go lower. And so now we're going down to the 5-minute or the 15 if you'd like, and look for an opportunity there. And so let's break down the structure here. Price pushes in to our designated point of interest, the 4-hour MBZ. And what happens after, you see a closure past that bullish gap right there. That is an inversion. Now, is that the best opportunity to enter off of? That's the main question. And the answer is actually no. So sometimes you'll get a reversal like that. Can you enter based off that? On the closure of that candle? And your stop above the swing point high, targeting a specific target? You can, but what's best and what's the better thing to do? You confirm it, because this is so far having a bullish run. You need to see a confirmation of a reversal of that bullish run. So here it is. And then you need to wait for a continuation. And so what happens? Well, price pushes, tests that area out, has another bullish gap form here, right? And that gets inverted on this down close candle right here. So do you see that? Because that gets inverted on this candle. If you check out the previous video on this YouTube channel, this is something we talked about before. Down close candle, in this case, because that's the candle that inverted that bullish gap to that swing point high. This then becomes not just an entry here on that down close candle. Like if you wanted to enter there, that's fine. But if you want a sharper stop and entry, you wait for this. And what do you wait for? You wait for the same exact thing we talked about earlier. Posing candle, close past 50%, confirmation. And so because price confirmed it there, we are to go short on this candle here. And when you go short, you can adjust your stop so it's a lot tighter and it's not too big. Target a swing low, make it 2R, etc. And you can see just how quick of a move it is thereafter. And if you miss that opportunity, there's more opportunities down there. But what we're doing here is looking at a higher time frame point of interest, in this case the MBZ, using that as an actual zone for an entry in that designated direction, and just going down to a lower time frame and looking for the same exact thing. Make sense? So we're going to look at one more example. So here's a live example of what's happening with the Dow Jones. You can see how it's spiked up on the 1-hour chart to a bearish fair value gap with the opposing candle, and it has a bearish confirmation. So that MBZ showed up. Now, if you were to go short here just based off that, your stop would have to be pretty high up there. How can we fractalize this and get a much tighter stop by using the same technique? Well, what we have to do is, again, go down to the 5-minute, and we'll look to see if there's an opportunity there. Same thing over here. So we're going to look at both opportunities right there. And we're going to check to see if there is a bearish opportunity. Okay. So right off the bat, on the first one, you can already see how it's playing out. We have an inversion right there. Price continues. And what do we want to see? We want to see an MBZ or another inversion take place for a continuation off the 1 hour gap. Okay. Same thing on the 15-minute. 1 hour gap, or excuse me, not 1 hour gap, 1 hour MBZ. Confirmation it wants to go lower. Starts breaking lows. Close beneath this bullish gap here. Posing candle into that bearish gap right here. And a bearish confirmation, aka the MBZ. Very quickly. See how that just immediately pours down. Okay. Let's look at this example here. And let's go to the 5-minute time frame. After this forms here at 11 a.m., what would we like to see? If I was looking for a bearish opportunity, I'd have to spot an inversion and or a type 4 MBZ. So far you can see how it's not really playing out just yet. And that's the important part. You need to wait for confirmation. So a good aspect of this is because we have that 1 hour bearish MBZ as a point of interest, this bullish MBZ here is something, and this bullish inversion as well, is something that we would ignore. Why? Because we're focusing on the higher time frame delivery here. Okay, so not only does it give you precise entries in the desired direction, but it also helps you avoid the incorrect entries. So I hope this brought a little insight into how to incorporate higher time frame MBZs properly into a lower time frame opportunity.